what we're going to do next is wire up our top LEDs. Okay, so that would be L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. We're going to be controlling those LEDs by using ports D4 and D5. Okay, so if we take a look at the schematic diagram, what we can see is happening is that on the first two LEDs, L1 and L2, both of those are both of the ends of the resistor are connected to negative. Okay, so but more so, both of the resistors are also connected to one another. So they're connected to one another and they connect to negative or ground. And then you'll notice here, LEDs 3, 4, and 5, those free ends of the resistors, they all connect to one another, but they also connect to ground. But we're going to start out by just connecting the three resistors, L3, 4, and 5 together in these, and then we're going to connect the L1 and L2 resistors together. All right, so here's where we should be at. Okay. Now I said we're going to connect the L1 and L2 together. Well, that would be these two. Okay, so here's my servo 1. If I want to back out just to give you a little bit of reference. Okay. So these two LEDs right here, we're going to take the free ends of the resistor. Okay, so that would mean, not the twist, but this end right here of this resistor and this end of the one that goes to L2. And just going to have to do this the best you can, but we do want these to be twisted so that they're making a decent electrical connection. So I'm going to just do my best to twist these guys so that they're as tight as I can kind of make them. I want to feel that they're together, not loose. Okay. All right. So now keep the ones you just twisted. Keep those in mind because we're going to come back to those in a minute. And then we're also going to take LEDs 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to connect those three together. Now I'm going to try to twist these two together first. And then I'm going to bring this over and twist these together. Okay, so if I look what I did, I connected what were the free ends of my resistors on L1 and 2 together, and then I connected what the ends of the resistors that weren't connected to anything. I twisted those, so I have this end of the resistor, this end of this resistor, and this, all three of those connected. Okay, that's the first thing. All right, next then, you're going to grab yourself a wire. Grab yourself a black short wire. You should have one of those. And we're going to take that wire. We're going to connect that up to these resistors here by twisting. And again, we want these to be really twisted together nicely. Okay, that is. And then you're going to bring this one over to here. Oops. And let's connect and twist those together. Okay. All right. So I've just added that wire right there and there. Okay. And then you're going to take another short wire, black one, and one end of it you can connect right up into here and twist it onto here as well. Okay. And let's see, we're going to just leave this end here for now. Now down here, I have my resistors down here, which I haven't done anything yet. Let's look at the schematic diagram real quick. Okay. So on this, the bottom LEDs, I'm going to be connecting L6, L8, and L10. I'm going to be connecting those three resistors together and to negative. And I'm going to be connecting the L7, 9, and 11 LEDs, those ends of the resistors. I'm going to be connecting those together and also to negative. Okay, so let me bring this back up here. So we'll start with the 6, 8, and 10. That's these three. So these three need to get connected. So I'm going to start by just twisting together the 6 and 8. All right. That felt like those were twisting up good. Then I'm going to add this one. You got to be careful that you don't have you know, like, here's my pointer. You don't want, you know, what you're twisting, make sure that it doesn't end up touching anything else. It's just that those ends of the resistors that weren't connected, that's all that needs to get connected and twisted to one another. So just watch out for any other previous twists that you made so that you don't do that. All right, let's connect these three up. Okay. And all right, so there I have it. I've connected the free ends of all three of these resistors together. So that's good. I'm going to do the same over here. I got to turn this around, not me, to make it a little bit easier. So the L7, the L9, and L11 LEDs, the free ends of those resistors. Let's see, get this out of the way. All right, and then twist. Okay. So you can see what I've done there. Those two resistors I've twisted, I'm going to add this one into it. You can bend things around a little bit, and if an LED pops out, well, you know how to pop it back in. Just use that little paper thing you made. Get them twisted up, and then just make sure that you didn't jack anything up or cause anything to touch something else as you were doing that. Okay, so I'm going to, oops, this one right here. This was a little close, actually. This positive leg was almost touching something else, so I got to be careful of that. Okay, don't want things touching that shouldn't be. All right, so what I got here now is I have, get this back in position, I have these three resistors twisted together, and I have these three twisted over here. And now what I'm going to do is grab another black wire, a short one, okay, and I'm going to connect these to these three. So I've just got to take this, get that twisted on there. Okay, so that ends on, and then I need to bring the other end and twist that to these. All right, then I'm going to grab this wire that we put in here. You should have one free end of that. Okay, and we're going to bring that wire to here. Let's see, and we're going to, we want to get this wire connected up onto, right onto there. Okay, so let's get that done. It's getting tight, no doubt about it. But I can still manage to get these twisted together. Now, if you're lucky enough to have, like, I don't know, maybe like a pliers or something, like a needle nose pliers in particular. Here, I'm going to grab one. You could possibly, possibly use that to help twist. Straighten that back out. Get that back in and twist. Okay. All right. So that's that. So I have that short jumper wire connecting these three to these three. Then I have the short jumper wire connecting from these three up to here to these three. And then I have another one connecting these three to these three. Okay. So then the last thing, grab one more short piece of wire, and over here on where you twisted these together, over on the L6810, we're going to twist this one onto right here. Whoops, right here. Okay, so this is going to be the negative one as well. Okay. All right, now this is actually the one that's going to go back to our Arduino, which we won't do anything with that yet. Okay, now I need you to grab one more wire. Now I believe we color coded these, but technically it doesn't matter which one. We're taking the wires from the switch now. Okay, it's right here. Okay, and we want to take those wires from the, or we want to take one of the wires from the switch. I'm going to pick the black one, and we're going to take that wire. This needs to connect to negative, so I'm just going to twist it on right to here where all these other ones are. So you could technically twist it onto any of those black wires that we put on there, but I'm going to put it right here because it's close. Okay, and that takes care of that. Okay, and then you'll have this one wire left. That one is part of the switch, and then you should have this one black wire. We'll just kind of tuck those to the side for now, and we'll deal with those in a little bit. Right, we're going to be connecting up to our Nano. So you'll need your small little screwdriver again. That was the one that should have been in your kit. Looks about like that. Okay. I'm going to be using my screwdriver though. So we have these two wires here. We have this one. This is the one that's connected to all of our grounds. We'll start with that one, and then we'll put in the other one. But before we do that, let's trim these down just a little bit. Use a nail clipper or something if you have that. We're just going to make it so that those wires are, I don't know, roughly, I'd say about 1/4 of an inch. The bottom line is when we put them in to the board, we don't want a lot of bare wire coming out the end. So where this is going to go, and I'm being kind of careful as I'm holding this here, this wire goes to over here. There should be an empty GND on the side. Okay, so if you need to loosen that screw up, when you put that in, notice how there's not bare wire right here. This is straight up insulation. So the bare wire is inside right now, and then I'm just going to tighten that down on top of it. And that's good. Then this wire, this is going to go into D2. So I'm going to, same thing, if I need to open it a little, put it in there, push it into the D2, and then tighten down on that. All right. Okay, now you're going to be a little more restricted now because we have it wired up in there. But what I'm going to try to do right now is to situate this thing so that it sits in that recess in here. Okay, so you can watch me fight this if you want to. All right, so it looks like, yeah, looks like that ought to do the trick. I'll be able to get it in there because that's where it's going to sit when we're done, but we still have more to hook up to it. Okay, we'll pause there. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to start on the top LEDs. We're going to connect the positive legs of L1 and L2 together right here, and then we're going to connect the positive legs of the LEDs to we're going to connect L3, L4, and L5 LEDs positive legs together. Okay, and then that's going to be a little bit more tricky because they're short, and I apologize for that, but make do if you can. So we'll start with L1 and L2. These two need to get twisted together. If you can get several twists on it, great. That's what you want. I'm going to try to use my little pliers here to twist them around maybe a few times. I just want to ensure that they're actually together. So I'm going to grab them, just give them a twist or two. But yeah, you'll have to do that by hand if you don't have one, sorry. Then these are going to be a little tighter. We got L3, L4, and L5, those legs, and these were the ones that were sticking straight up. Okay, same with over here. These were the ones that were sticking straight up. So we're going to connect these together. So let me... All right, I got that. And I think I'm going to try twisting it with my tool as well. Okay. Now I'm going to grab one of my long white wires here, and I'm going to take the end that has the most stripped off of it. Okay. What I'm going to actually do, if you can see, is I'm going to twist the positive leg of this one right to where the insulation and the wire meet. So that'll give me a little bit of room. So here, got it overlapping a little. I'm going to twist this one on, or twist these two together, I should say. Okay, like that. Okay, and then I can use the end of this to reach over to to these two, and these are the two long positive ones that were connected together. Okay, and I'm gonna twist that wire and that together. So essentially we're going to have the long leg, or the positive, connected to this positive, connected to this positive and this wire. Okay, so let me twist these. And I apologize for the wires being short. I should have given you more, but we got what we got, right? Okay, so let's twist. Now, the worst case, if you can't get these all twisted together, is you won't have lights until I can maybe get you some more wire or something. Okay, and then if any LEDs popped out, you're going to need to get them popped back in. One of mine, I can see, just did that. Whoops. So I'm going to fix that real quick. Okay. All right. And so, yeah. So we got these three positives connected together going off to this wire. And we have these two positives connected together. And we're going to need to attach them to another long white wire. So find the white wire, find the end that has the most stripped off of it, and we're going to twist that onto these two positives right here. Okay. All right, so now we have these two wires. So this one, the one that's connected to L1 and L2 positives, this one's going to go down to the board where it says D4. Okay, so you're going to need to look down onto the nano and find where it says D4. Yeah, you might have to pull it back out a little bit. And I can see my D4. It's right down in here. And you know how these work, so you're going to need to slip it into that hole and tighten it down. So again, this is going to D4. Make sure it's in there. Okay, and then the next one, the other wire that was going to those LEDs, that's going to go to the next one, which is D5, which is right next to it. And again, and once we stick it in there, we shouldn't see really much bare wire coming out of the green part. And we'll screw that down. Okay, so now the top ones should be connected. So now we just need to focus on the bottom ones, which we'll finish up here in a moment. Wires are going to be in your way. You got to be gentle. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump to the bottom LEDs, and we're going to be connecting the positive legs from L7, 9, and 11 together, and then we're going to attach a wire so that they can go to D8, and we're going to connect the 6, 8, and 10 positive legs together, and we're going to attach a wire to it to go to D7. Okay. So we'll work on the 6, 8, and 10 ones here first. Okay. So these are all my long legs. These need to get connected to one another, so go ahead and do that carefully. All right, so I've gotten the L6, L8, and L10 positives twisted together. It was a little bit of a challenge, but I did it. I basically took this one and I wrapped it around as close to down here as I could of the long leg from L8. And then that gave me a little bit of extra room here so that I could bring L10 over and twist L10 and L8 together. So yeah, L8 or 6 is attached to L8 and attached to L10. They're all twisted together. And then I'm going to grab another one of my wires. Let's see, I think you have some white ones left. Okay, so you're going to grab one of the white ones that have the long amount of stripped wire on it. Pick an end that has a decent amount, and then you're going to twist that right onto the L6, L8, and L10. So I'm going to just kind of jump it in right here and twist it. Okay, use the pliers. Yeah, they got to be tight, so do what you can to make them tight. All right, as good as I can get it. So now I have this wire. And this one is the one that's gonna, let's see, this is L6, 8, and 10. So that one's going to D7 now. So I'm gonna trim off a little bit, just like I did on the other ones. I only want about 1/4 of an inch, maybe, of wire showing. Okay, and then this one, again, is going to D7. So if I find D7 on here, it's right there. I'm going to loosen that up and carefully get that wire in there. And then tighten it down. You can tell you kind of got to be fragile moving around in here so you don't cause anything to come loose. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump to the other side and essentially do the same thing. We're going to attach the long legs from L7, L9, and 11 together. And then we'll get another wire to attach. So connect L7, L9, and L11 long legs together. All right, so now what I have done is I've connected my L7, L9, and L11 long legs together. I'm going to then grab myself another white wire, and I want to connect this wire up to those same ones that we twisted here. So the positive or long legs of the L7, 9, and 11. We'll get that wrapped around a couple times. Make sure it's tight, and then we'll connect the other end to the Arduino. Oh, darn it. I popped an LED out, so I'm going to have to fix that. All right. Well, I got the wire on there, so that's the good news. I just need to pop this LED back in. Oops. All right, now this end, same thing. Trim it down so that using a fingernail clipper or something like that, so that you have about 1/4 inch of bare wire. This one's going into D8, and that is right in here somewhere. Okay. Oops, I got it in the wrong one, I believe. I do, got it in the wrong one. Got to put it in D8. Okay, and then hopefully you can still kind of get these wires, which you should be able to bend them a little bit if they're secure in there. If it doesn't sit back down into that spot, well, that's okay. I mean, really, as long as this is tucked in here somewhere, that's fine. I don't have a lot of wiggle room here, so I'm just going to have to make do with the fact that we have short wire legs, and that's okay. We'll just deal with it. Okay, so those should all be connected. So what you want to do now is just double check, just to make sure that when you look at each one of these LEDs, make sure that the legs of the LEDs are not touching one another in those holes, so they cannot be shorted. So they're not touching. Yeah, just make sure they're not touching in all of them. And then after you verify that, same with down below. Just make sure that they're not touching one another. Make sure that the only things that are connected are the stuff that we twisted together. All right, so I gave that a good inspection. I don't have any wires that are touching. So now I'm going to be testing this thing out. All right, now I've modified the code, which I'm going to take you through here shortly, but I just want to show you that after I downloaded it, I can then test it by starting the machine, and I can see that all of my lights do in fact light up.